I've hit the record button, and now we're giving an opportunity for those who are not here live to actually watch what we do and to participate in a recording. Let me introduce myself to the recording audience. My name is Paul McLeod, and I'm the Minister of Education here at Mount Calvary Baptist Church in Knoxville, Tennessee. Thank you so much for joining us in our first session. This is session number 1, an introductory session in the series, How to Study the Book of Jude. Now, for those who are watching by recording and our live students, we have transitioned. If you haven't noticed, thank you for registering. Thank you for coming on. And we are now in a different series, although this series is closely tied to the last series. If you attended the last series, that's great. This is kind of a continuation. If this is totally new to you, that's okay also. This Bible study session is going to be meant as kind of a review. And so if you're brand new to this, haven't read the book or anything like that, I'll be giving the high points. So don't panic. We can get you up to speed. The central focus of this Bible study session is to help you to understand what this course is all about. It has a different objective than the last series. This course is a hands-on study of the book of Jude designed to demonstrate how to determine the meaning of Scripture and apply it to our lives. Notice that I said hands-on. This is a hands-on study of the book of Jude. It's going to be participatory. We're not only going to understand the meaning of the book of Jude, but you're going to see how we get to that meaning. And so that's what I mean by hands-on. In effect, this is really kind of a Bible study about Bible study in effect. So I want to take you behind the scenes and let you see the moving parts of how to actually do a Bible study. In our last series, we did some of that. We read the book, we saw videos, we answered questions. I tried to illuminate or expound on some things that maybe you didn't understand or should know more about as far as how to do Bible study. Now we're actually going to put that into effect. We're actually going to get what I like to say our hands dirty in actually doing Bible study. For some of you, this is just a review. Some of you have been doing Bible study this way for years, if not decades, and this may not be anything new for you. Maybe it's a good refresher. For some of you, you've heard some of these terms, you've seen glimpses of this type of Bible study, and so this is going to help get you up to speed. And then, of course, for some, this is the first time that you've had a structured and a formatted environment in which you are doing Bible study. I don't know about you, but when I was first getting serious about Bible study, it was shortly after I was saved. I was saved later on in life in my 30s. And I heard about this thing called Bible study. And I knew about reading the Bible. I was in Sunday school. I heard our pastor talk about Bible study. But no one actually took me by the hand and said, okay, this is how you actually do Bible study. And through trial and error, I guess I kind of fumbled my way through it. And then I did have a Sunday school teacher to take me by the hand and say, this is how you do Bible study. And after that, for me, it was off to the races. I read a lot of books on Bible study, different methods, different ways to do it. I've, over the years and years that I've done Bible study, I've tried different ways of doing Bible study, different methods and approaches. And I've settled in on this way to do Bible study because it is the most, that I've seen, it's the most faithful to the text. It's the most faithful to the idea that God has revealed himself in his word, and he meant for us to understand and to grow in it and to put it in our lives. And so that's why I really resonate with this method. This is not the only method of Bible study, just to let you know. There are many other methods. some better than others. But I really believe that the way we study the Bible here, in this how to read the book, how to read the Bible for all it's worth, is a good, solid way to study the Bible. So our central focus is hands-on, and it's designed to demonstrate. It is designed to, I'm not going to sit up here and tell you everything of what the book of Jude means. We're going to discover together. During this Bible study lesson, I have 3 things that I'm going to focus on. The first is to help you to understand how this course is going to work. What are we going to do for these next 8 Bible study sessions? So I want to give you a flavor of how it's going to work. Also, how you access information. Information is so important when you do Bible study. There's a lot of information out there, some of it better than others. Some of the information out there is just plain wrong, plain dangerous. And I want you to access information about this course so that you can be on the road to accessing better information as you do Bible study. So I'll let you know how the course works. I'm going to demonstrate how you can access information about this course and get information. And the last thing is to take steps forward. I want to take a step backwards and do a review of our book, How to Study the Bible for All It's Worth. I'm not going to do a comprehensive review. I'm going to hit the highlights. I'm going to hit 4 or 5 things that you really need to know before we jump into the book of Jude. So I want you to understand the basics of this book that we just read. So let's get into how, before we get into how the course works, I want to take another step back and acknowledge that this past week, we read about the book of Revelation. This past week, we reflected on our discussion about Revelation from our last class that we had, and it was entitled Revelation, Images of Judgment and Hope. I pray that you had the opportunity, or you made the time to read that chapter in our book, and that you got something out of it. If you boil that whole chapter down into one sentence, I would say that chapter and the book of Revelation is about a message of judgment and hope, demonstrating that God is sovereign over history and he wins in the end. Remember who the hero of the story is, the story of the Bible. Remember, the hero of the story is God. It's not us. God is the hero of the story. And so the book of Revelation is the message of both judgment and hope. And I hope you got that out of there. There are 2 messages in there. There's judgment for those that in right relationship with, there's judgment for those who are not in right relationship with God. And there's hope for those in right relationship with God through Jesus Christ. And that whole book demonstrates how God is sovereign, how he has weaved himself into history by his own sovereign right. God can do what he wants to do. He made the universe. And he's sovereign over history. His plan goes forward, and he wins in the end. If you're a believer in Jesus Christ, you're a disciple, if you're a Christian, we all win in the end. And so that is the message of the book of Revelation. I want to open it up for a few minutes to hear what your questions are. Maybe you had a question about our discussion last week or the reading, or maybe you have a comment. Maybe you have something that you want to share with the group that really jumped out at you. And so you can unmute yourself, feel free. And who's got the first question or comment?
One of the things that stood out to me was when we think of prophecy, we think of foretelling the future, but that's not what it meant in the book of Revelation. It says here, it was rather to speak forth God's word in the present, not to prophesy what the future might be. So that stood out to me because I think most of us think of prophecy as foretelling the future. That's not what it means in this setting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great observation. I think you're right. If you go up to the average person, say, what is the definition of prophecy, or tell me about prophecy, it'll be pretty much future minded. Whereas if you look in the Bible, and especially in Revelation, John was writing to people of that time, forthtelling, not necessarily foretelling. So yeah. Yeah, and that perspective, that accurate perspective, really affects how you approach the book of Revelation. You don't approach it just as a book telling about the future. So it affects your perception, your perspective.
Another thing about the book of Revelation that I noticed is that a lot of the language is symbolic. The imageries is they're quite symbolic. So you're not actually going to see some of those things that were described in there.
Right. Yeah, looks like a lot of made up stuff, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're an artist and you want it, and there have been artists in the past, very skilled artists, who have drawn some of the images from the book of Revelation. And if you ever want to see those, you could look on YouTube, or you could just Google, and it's wild, to realize how wild some of those images are. Yeah, it's a different way, just a different way of communicating. Yeah. Any other comments or questions? All right, going once, going twice. All right, so I'll go ahead and put everybody back on mute just to make sure we get good sound quality. And I'll jump into how this course works. The tool that I use to communicate how a course works is a syllabus. Many of you all have been in school or familiar with what a syllabus is. And so I'm going to share my screen and share with you the syllabus that for this particular course. You don't have to look at your screen and follow along. If you want to, that's great for if you're more visually minded, or if you're on the phone, of course, if you're on just called in, if you dialed in, you don't see this, but I will cover it. A syllabus is just basically an organized way to tell you about a course. I love it because it helps me to get organized up front, and it helps me to focus on what's important in a course. So these classes can be focused, so we don't waste a lot of time, and we answer the questions, and you get, I do good teaching, and you do good learning. And that's the product of a syllabus. By the way, this syllabus is available on our website, on our group website. We have a brand new group website, and it's on here, and I'll demonstrate that in a minute, how you can access this document. Of course, I'm the teacher. There's my contact information. The meeting times. It's on Wednesdays. We start at 6. I try really hard to leave out as close to 7:15 as possible. Notice that we're starting today, and we'll finish up on December 7th. We usually finish the first week of December because so much is going on, around the holidays. People are going to parties, Christmas parties, family, traveling. We usually end up a little early before the end of the year, usually the first week of September or December, and that'll be the usual case in this class. Course description, I've talked about this a little so far, but just want you to know that this course is a series of Bible study sessions, hands-on study of the book of Jude. We will be using the guidelines and principles in the book, How to Read the Bible for All It's Worth. It's kind of funny. A number of you approached me over this past week wondering, where's the book? Well, where's the book on Jude? Where's our book? We don't have a book solely dedicated for the book of Jude. We will use the 2 chapters that are in your book, in our book, How to Read the Bible for All It's Worth. And so we'll use the 2 chapters on the epistles from that book. And the whole idea, the whole result, and I mentioned this just a minute ago, is to correctly determine the meaning of Scripture and how to apply it in our lives. I want this to be kind of a laboratory where we're actually going to put into practice what we've learned. We're going to see some great things, maybe some not so great ways to do Bible study. And so this is kind of a laboratory. There are 2 goals that I'm looking for you to get out of this course. The first learning goal is to understand the meaning of the book of Jude. I want you to see the meaning of the book of Jude. The second thing is to understand how to apply the meaning of the book of Jude in the contemporary context. In other words, how do you apply that meaning to your life today? I guess I should have had a third goal in there. I might modify this, a third goal, at least a third goal of understanding how to get the meaning out of the book of Jude and apply it to your lives, the actual nuts and bolts of how to do that. So I'll probably amend this. I'll put out probably another version. What materials will we need? Well, of course, we're going to need the Holy Bible. You're going to be using your Bible a lot. So whatever version that you normally use, your day in and day out version or translation, you can certainly use that. When we start studying, and I'll present this later on in the next week or two, you'll probably want at least at least one other, and probably 3 total to study out of. I've always said that when you have an everyday Bible, that's great, but when you study, have at least 2, if not 3 Bibles. You'll also probably want to have a Bible dictionary or study Bible. I would strongly suggest a Bible dictionary only because it'll have more information. There's some good study Bibles out there, don't get me wrong. However, the amount of information that you get out of study Bible cannot compare to a good Bible dictionary. And that's why I say I lean strongly and want to encourage you strongly to go with a good Bible dictionary. Also, a commentary. I want to encourage you to get a commentary, find a good commentary on the book of Jude. And I'll have, in fact, let me go over here and share my screen. Bear with me for a minute. On your screen, you can see the letters of 2 Peter and Jude by Peter H. Davids. This is probably one of the best commentaries on the book of Jude. It's done by the Pillar New Testament Commentary. The target audience is not technical. This is not a technical. Doesn't have a whole lot of Greek, breaking down Greek words and things like that. I find it to be a great, what I would call a common commentary. You notice also that the book of Jude is in here, but along with it is 2 Peter. Many of the commentaries you're going to find on the book of Jude also have bundled in the book of 2 Peter. A couple reasons why. Number one is that there's a lot of literary overlap between the 2 books. As scholars have looked at these 2 books, they feel strongly that one borrowed from the other, or there was a third source out there that both of them borrowed from. Maybe it was another letter that didn't make it into our Bible, or there was some type of historian or something that there's so much literary overlap in 2 Peter and Jude that they bundle them together. They also bundle them together because they're pretty short. It's easy to get them all into one book. Here's the bad news. This commentary is pretty pricey. It is. I think you see it on Amazon for about $45. You may be able to get it down to about 40 with a good discount. So as commentaries go, that's on the pricier end. My feeling about commentaries is it's all about priorities. If I do without Starbucks for 6 months or a year, I can afford this commentary. So it's a matter of priorities. Which one do I want? Me personally, I cut back on the things that don't matter with me as much, so that I can get things that matter to me. And a good commentary is very important to me because the Bible is how I live my life. And I want to gather good sources, secondary sources for the Bible, so that I can study it properly. So it's really all about your priorities. But this is one that I would certainly recommend. When we talk about Bible dictionaries, I've said this before, and I think I went over this in How to Study the Bible for All It's Worth. I would recommend, after doing some research and some study, I would recommend Nelson's Illustrated Bible Dictionary. It's the new edition, the new and enhanced edition. I think it's 2006. I want to say, no, 2014, actually, looking at my screen. And I would recommend this for a number of reasons, but I don't think you can go wrong with this. Again, good tools will cost you. The lesser tools, the lesser quality tools tend to be about probably half this price, but this will run you about probably over $40. From my experience, just looking around, and this isn't a rule that you go by day to day, but price a lot of times is a pretty good indicator of the quality of Bible study tools that are out there. I have rarely found really good Bible study tools that are very, very low in price. The good ones that I've seen are usually the higher priced ones. That's just a general rule. There are exceptions out there. Please don't go out there and get the most expensive stuff that you can find, thinking that it's high quality, unless you've done your research, unless you've looked at it. If you have questions, you can certainly give me a call or email or text if you're looking at some resources. And if you need some help in finding some good tools, just let me know. I'd be happy to share what I know or help you to do some research. Okay, so those are some of the tools. I'm going to go back to the syllabus quickly. You will need your book, How to Read the Bible for All It's Worth. You will definitely need that. And I would recommend, if you can, to get what we call How To 2. That is the companion book, How to Read the Bible, book by Gordon Fee and Douglas Stewart. I've mentioned this before. It's a companion book. I call it a Bible handbook. It gives you some information book by book in the Bible, gives you overviews, it gives you major themes for each book, who the characters are, it points out major things to look for, and so it kind of takes you by the hand and steps you through a book of the Bible. It's book formatted. It's book by book. It even gives you an outline of that particular book. So it takes you by the hand and takes you through each book of the Bible. Those are the materials that I would recommend for you. So how are we going to do this? You can see the outline. We're in the introduction today, and we'll step through week by week. We'll go through an introduction today. And if you noticed here, we're not going verse by verse. We're not going paragraph by paragraph, which we could do in the book of Jude. What we're doing is we're going step by step on the process of studying the book of Jude. So in effect, each of these sessions is a step in the Bible study process. The first thing we want to do is we want to establish guidelines for interpreting epistles. Because we're doing a study of an epistle, we want to understand what are the guidelines for how do we approach an epistle and interpret it. So we'll talk about that next week. In sessions 3 and 4, we're going to look at the historical and literary context. That's the next step in a good Bible study. In session 5, we're going to do a review because we're going to change gears after session 5 and talk about hermeneutics. How do we actually apply the meaning of the text to the contemporary context, what we call applying it to our lives. So in part 1 in session 6, starting November the 16th, that'll be part 1 of how to apply it to your life. We'll take a break for Thanksgiving week. We will not have Bible study on November the 23rd. Take a break. And then we'll come back and finish up hermeneutics, how to apply it to our lives in session 7 on November the 30th. And then we'll put this whole thing together on December the 7th. That'll be a session you don't want to miss. That'll be when we put the whole machine together, we see how all the moving parts work, and see how a Bible study goes and the end result. So we'll put it all together on session number 8. So that's the outline. I'll stop sharing my screen. There we go. Any questions or comments about how the course works? Feel free to take yourself off of mute. This is very informal. Any questions or comments?
Okay, how do we prepare ahead of time? Is there anything we need to do ahead of our next session?
Good question. This particular course is going to be like our last series, what I call a kind of a homework type format. We're going to be discussing new material each week, and we're going to deepen our understanding of the material by having reading and activity in the following week. So this week, you've come totally unprepared. There was nothing for you to do to prepare for or anything. You're coming in cold. You're going to have homework over the next week, over the following week, that is going to help you to understand the new material even better. So your homework is really over what has been discussed in the past, and you're not doing homework to prepare for the next session. Does that kind of make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Because the other alternative, the other option is you could turn it around and have a study. You can have Bible studies where you're preparing for the next session, and then you do your reading, the new material, and then you discuss what you've read. I've kind of turned it around so that you come in cold, and then you follow up by reading what we've talked about. And there are advantages and disadvantages to either one, but I kind of like this format. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, so that's how the course will work week to week. What I call the weekly flow. How's this going to work week to week? Is that on Wednesdays, of course, we have our Bible studies in the evenings. I open up at 5:30. We begin at 6. We'll stop at 7:15. What I'll usually do as far as the format is concerned is I'll usually first review the past week. I usually say something like, hey, we discussed last week, such and such. You did your reading, and open it up. What are your questions and comments? And we have a discussion about, if you have questions about what you read or we discussed last week, that's your opportunity. Or if you have a comment and say, hey, this is great. I learned this and that. Or hey, I didn't get much out of this at all, good, bad, ugly, whatever your comments are, we get to discuss it. Then I go into the new material. Now, I'm not a big fan on you listening to me talk all the time. I mean, I can talk the whole hour. I can talk for 3 hours about this stuff. But what I usually like to do is multimedia. I might have a video, I might have a PowerPoint, I might even have a podcast once in a while if I find a good one. But being a facilitator and as kind of like a Bible study coach, I point you in the right direction. I really try to summarize, break it down into pieces so that maybe you understand it if I break it down into different pieces or if I summarize it a certain way. and I'll expound upon certain things, but I won't go over everything. This is, I don't use our Bible study sessions to go over a chapter, paragraph by paragraph and have all the information. So if you depend on just the video part of this session, you're not going to get all the information. The book's going to have all the information, but I'll try to point you in the right direction. Then we'll have a discussion. I like to ask questions. I like to see how it's hitting you, questions you may have about it. And so, and it deepens our understanding when we actually discuss. Then we'll wrap it up. And I usually like to keep the Zoom session open after class. And so, you can leave if you want, but if you want to hang out, then that's great. And I do that for 2 or 3 reasons. And I think I shared this with you before. The first thing is there are some people who may not be comfortable in a larger group asking a question or making a comment, which is fine. They like maybe one-on-one or in a smaller group. And so hanging out after the session is a great way in a smaller group to have a discussion or ask a question. The second thing is fellowship. It's a lot less formal. We're not on the clock. It's very loose, and people like to talk about all different kind of things. And so those are the reasons I like to have, a hangout after the class. Somebody, it's kind of funny. I think somebody said one time, or maybe it was me, he said it's kind of like the after party. And so, don't act like you've been saved all your life. I know some of you went to the after party, know what I'm talking about. So that's what we do on Wednesdays. The next day on Thursdays, what I do is I come in and I start doing what I call post-production. I edit the video if it needs to be edited. I look at it for sound quality. I post it. I post resources. I do all this kind of stuff. And then I send out an email and a text, depending on whether you attended or not. I send out an email and a text, and it has a lot of great information and resources, like how to get to the video, how to get to our website if you want to look up a resource and things like that. Then on Monday, you'll receive a reminder email, an RSVP. And that's 2 days before Wednesday, 2 days before our Bible study. You get an email that says, hey, you've got a session coming up. In fact, let me go ahead and show you. And I'm showing this to some people that may not see it, have not seen it before. But let me go ahead and pull up my RSVP from my email that you should have received last Monday. Okay, here we go. And I will get back to you. I will share screen. And there's my email. If you take a look at the screen, you see how to study the book of Jude. Hi, Paul. Your group, how to study the book of Jude, has an event in 2 days. And it gives you the name of it, the date, and the time. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but there's a little link here. There's some blue letters. It says attend online. It's in blue. And it's a hyperlink. If you hover over it, it'll turn from your cursor into a hand. And if you click on that, you will go straight to Zoom. You'll go straight to this session, to this Zoom session. So here's the first tip for you. Here's your first trick. If you want to go directly into this session, the easiest way is to pull up your reminder email that you received on Monday and click on attend online, and you'll go straight into Zoom. It should save you at least a couple of steps. So that's one trick. I don't know if you've noticed also, but this is RSVP, which is French. I don't want to say French, but it's basically asking you, hey, let me know if you're going to be here. And so you can click on the button, I'll be there, I can't make it, or I'm not sure. And I like to ask you to go ahead and click on that. It gives me an idea of who's going to be here and who's not going to be here. And then there's some more information there, contact information at the bottom. So on Mondays, you should see this. If for some reason you're not getting them, let me know. Well, the first thing is check your spam, check your folder. And so check your spam, check your junk folder. If you still don't see it, let me know, and I'll do some troubleshooting, and we'll go from there. Now, so that is how the course. Oh, I'm sorry. So Monday you get the RSVP email, the reminder email. And then on Wednesdays, 30 minutes before the Bible study session, if you have text, or if you have a smartphone or something, I send out a text saying, hey, Bible study will start in 30 minutes. And here's the link. So I just try to build in some reminders for you, make it easy for you. Okay, so that's the flow of how the week goes. Let me show you how you can access some information. Some of you already have accessed our online web page, and some of you have tried maybe and had some problems, and some of you haven't tried at all. So let me go ahead and demonstrate that really quick. Let me set up my screen here. Let me find it. There we go. And I'll share my screen again. All right, we're right back to this reminder email. I'm telling you, this reminder email is gold. The easiest way to get to our website is at the very bottom of this email. It says to unsubscribe from these emails, you can leave the group here. The words leave the group here are in blue. That's a hyperlink. If you click on that, it'll take you to where you can start the process to get into our website. You need to log in. And so I put in some requests for them to have it, to have a better button that says have access to your group website or whatever. They're kind of working on it. But this is your second tip. This is your second trick here, is that if you want to get access to our website, this reminder email, again, you go to it at the very bottom, leave the group here. If you click on it, let me go ahead and demonstrate. You click on it, and it takes you to an application, and it's asking you for your mobile number. If you don't have a mobile number, or you don't do text or whatever, you can use email address instead. Right here, you can click on use email address instead, put your email up there. Never mind about that. And click on next. I like to use the mobile number, so I click on that. I put in my phone number. I click on next. And then it says, please enter the 6-digit code sent to my phone number. Let's see, let's take a look at my phone. And I've received a text. Now, a couple people have had a problem at this point. A couple of people that I've talked to say, hey, I put this code in here and it doesn't work. One of the problems is you may be putting the phone number that you received in the text in this box, like a +1 72777776462. That's the phone number of where it's coming from. Should be just a 6-digit number within your chat. I mean, within your text. And for my case, it says 114453. Each time it's different. And so it gives you, I think it gives you 10 minutes. I can't remember what the timeout time is, but you put that code in there, you click on next. Now, before I go there, if for some reason you don't get it, you can click on resend code. It'll send it to you again. If for some reason you put in the wrong mobile number, you can click on edit mobile number and change that. But I click on next. It says, hello, Paul, let's get you logged in. I click on log in as Paul. If for some reason I'm not Paul, I click on that. But I log in as Paul, click on that. And I am now logged in and have all kinds of information. Where it takes you to is my groups. All the groups that you're a member of, you will see on one page. I'm a member of a whole bunch of groups, but the one I want to go into, and if you ever want to leave, you can see here that you can click on leave this group. You can leave any group you want. But how to study the book of Jude, I want to get into that group. So I click on the picture. And now we are inside our group webpage. Now you have access to all kinds of information. You have access to events, resources, and members. Events gives you our calendar. And these are all of our sessions. So you have a list of what's coming up. Notice that November the 23rd has been canceled. We do not meet on November the 23rd. So that's our events. Resources. This is a great place. This is where all of the documents and the videos and links for our class that I put. For example, I've already posted how to study the book of Jude syllabus. Here's our group website link. Here's the Zoom link information. Here's the registration link. If I show a video, then during the class, then hey, you can go here to access the video. Also, you can look up our members. These are all the members in our group. Yep, here we go. And there's, I think, 35 of us or something like that. What a good looking group. Look at all those good looking pictures. Isn't that great? If for some reason you do not want your information shown, for privacy or whatever, that's okay. I would encourage you to go ahead and show all your information, but it's totally up to you. But if for some reason you don't want your information shown, you can click on where it says edit visible information. You click on that, you can choose to show everything or just to show nothing or in between, just certain things. I usually like to show everything. You save the changes, and then that's how you do that. So that's what you can find in our group website. There's events, there are resources, and there are members. And so that's great resources. And by the way, this particular application, this particular website, you can not only find information about your groups, you can find the church calendar. If you click on calendar, these are all the events for our church. These are all the events. For example, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, all day today. That's all month. How to study the book of Jude, session 1 introduction, online, 6 to 7:15. Middle and high school Bible study class every Wednesday, online, 7 to 8. Now, the problem with this is a long list. If you're trying to find something specific, this is kind of tough. I'll show you another trick. This is trick number 3. This is tip number 3 for you. Over here is what they call a filter. If you click on it, it gives you all these categories that you can filter from. Let's say that you're a deacon and you want to know, when is the next deacon's meeting? Oh man, I completely forgot, or I need to see if I'm going to be there. You can click on deacons, and they have their meeting on the first Saturday, the Saturday before the first Sunday of each month. So their next meeting is Saturday, November the 5th. Let's say, hey, I want to see what health and wellness is doing. I want to get healthy. I want to see what the church has for health and wellness. Let's click on health and wellness. Hey, there's some stuff. Breast Cancer Awareness Month. That's great. Oh, COVID-19 vaccinations every Wednesday at New Direction Healthcare Solutions from 10 to 2. Hey, I want more information on that. How do I get more information? You click on the title, and there's all your information. There's a little blurb about what it's about. Children ages 5 to 17. If you want more information, here's who you can call. Here's the location. And if you want a map or get directions, it's right there also. So here, if I want to see a map of it, there's a map. And if I clicked on it, it would go to the full screen. There's no excuse not to get information. There is literally no excuse not to know. And with this site. So I go back to all events, and one more thing I'll show you, and then we'll move on. Is, let's say there's education. Hey, I want to get into a couple Bible studies or something like that. No, I want to know, when is the office closed? You know, we got holidays coming up. You know, we got Thanksgiving, we got Christmas. When is the office closed next? Hey, Thursday, November the 24th, the offices will be closed that Thursday and Friday because of Thanksgiving holiday. In December, will be closed December 23rd and the 26th. Boy, doesn't get any better than that. So that is how you can get some information. All right. If you ever need help in any of these tools or whatever, feel free, like I said, to hang out afterwards or come in early at 5:30 or email, text me, call me, whatever we can do. We can do one-on-one. That would be fine. That would be fine also. All right, let me get back to my notes. That's how to access information. Now, this is actually, let's see, it's almost 7 o'clock. I'm looking at my time here, and I like to budget my time. Okay, that first part took a little longer than I expected. I covered what I wanted to cover. Now I'm going to jump into the basics of how to read the Bible for all it's worth. I'm going to have time to play probably one or two videos, and then we'll pick it up next week. I'll continue. We'll have time next week to go ahead and continue this. Let me introduce these videos. What we're going to see first is I want to take a couple steps back and look, before we dive into the study of the book of Jude, I want to make sure that we have a firm foundation. So I want to play a couple of Bible project videos. The first one is, what is the Bible? Some of you all will recognize this. I've played it in previous Bible studies, and we're going way back to a foundational piece of information. What exactly is the Bible? We really got to know that before we go jumping into Jude. And then the second video is the story of the Bible from beginning to end. Now, many of you all have gone through the story, that Bible study series, that long Bible study series going from Genesis all the way to Revelation, and understand the overarching picture of God's plan. Many of you all are familiar with that. Some of us may not be as familiar. So this video is going to show you the story of the Bible. These Bible project videos will remind us of the purpose, nature, and story of the Bible. So I want to build on a good foundation. And so we're going to start with the video, what is the Bible? I'll play this, and then we'll go ahead and wrap it up, and I'll pick back up next week with the story of the Bible video. So I'm just going to play one of the videos right now. Bear with me as I set up my screen to share. And you may have to turn your device up or down. I'll go ahead and make sure that everyone is muted so we have good sound quality. I hit the share button. I hit screen 2. Make sure we're optimized. And here we go.
The Bible. It's one of the most influential books in human history.
It explores the big questions of why we exist.
It's inspired many people to do amazing things.
And confused many others.
And you've probably got one sitting around somewhere.
So, what is the Bible actually?
Well, the Bible is a small library of books that all emerged out of the history of the people of ancient Israel. And in one sense, they were just like any other ancient civilization. But among them were a long line of individuals called prophets. And they viewed Israel's story as anything but ordinary. They saw it as a central part of what God was doing for all humanity. And these prophets were literary geniuses.
Really?
Yeah, they expertly crafted the Hebrew language to write epic narratives, very sophisticated poetry. They were masters of metaphor and storytelling, and they leveraged all of this to explore life's most complicated questions about death and life and the human struggle.
So there's a lot of different authors writing this book.
Yeah, and these texts were produced over a 1,000-year period, starting with Israel's origins in Egypt, then leading up to their kingdom with their first temple, but eventually they were conquered by the Babylonians, who took them away into exile. Then, at a crucial moment in their history, many Israelites returned to their land. They built a second temple, they reformed their identity, and this is when the Jewish scriptures began to be formed into the shape that we have them today.
Okay, the Jewish Bible. What's in it?
Well, in Hebrew, it's called by an acronym, Tanakh. The T stands for Torah, sometimes called the Law. That's Israel's 5-book foundation story. The N stands for Nevi'im, the Hebrew word for prophets. And this section consists of the historical books that tell Israel's story from the prophet's point of view. Then you get the poetic books of the prophets themselves. The K stands for Ketuvim, the Hebrew word for writings. This is a diverse collection of poetic books, wisdom books, and more narrative. And the Jewish people believed that through all of these literary works, God speaks to his people.
Now, there were other Jewish writings being produced during this Second Temple period as well.
Yeah, a really diverse group of texts. And these too were highly valued in Jewish communities. And there was debate from ancient times about whether or not some of these should be considered part of their scriptures.
So this is a lot of different writings over a long period of time. Why did they put them all together like this?
Well, altogether, these texts tell an epic story about how God is working through these people to bring order and beauty out of the chaos of our world. And it all builds up to a hope for a new leader who would come and renew all creation. And then the Tanakh concludes, and this leader never comes.
So it's an expertly crafted work, but it's missing an ending?
That's exactly right. Now, a few centuries later, a Jewish prophet comes onto the scene named Jesus of Nazareth. He claimed he was carrying the Tanakh story forward.
Yeah, so Jesus did a bunch of cool stuff, was killed, but his followers claimed he was alive from the dead.
Yeah, they said that Jesus was that long-awaited leader who would restore the world. And so his earliest followers, called apostles, they composed new literary works about the story of Jesus. They called these Good News, or the Gospel. They formed an account called Acts about the spread of the Jesus movement outside of Israel. And then they circulated letters to different Jesus communities all around the ancient world.
And they saw these writings as part of the scripture.
Yeah, the apostles wrote all of this as the fulfillment of that epic story found in the Tanakh. And they were continuing the literary genius of the Jewish tradition. They also believed that God was speaking to his people through these texts alongside the scriptures of Israel.
So that's the Old and New Testament. But what did the early Christians think of the other Second Temple literature?
Well, different groups had different views about some of these books, but we know they read them and valued these texts because they passed them along with the Jewish scriptures.
Okay, so we've got the Tanakh, the Jewish scriptures. We got these other Second Temple period works. Then the writing of the apostles about Jesus. And that's a lot of literature, so what's in my Bible?
So the Christian movement has taken different forms over 2,000 years, and from the beginning, all Christians recognized the Tanakh and the New Testament as scripture. And for centuries, much of the Second Temple literature was read as part of the biblical tradition. The Catholic Church eventually made it official and called some of the books from this collection the Deuterocanonical books. Some Orthodox churches used even more books from this Second Temple literature. And then in the 1500s, during the Reformation, Protestant Christians wanted to go back to the oldest writings of the prophets and apostles, so they accepted only the Old and New Testaments.
Okay, I think I got it. But how does a collection of books produced over 1,000 years by all these different authors tell one unified story?
Yeah, that's the question we'll address in our next video.
And that's where we'll leave it for this week. That is where we're going to leave it. Now, before we wrap up, let me give you what we're going to be taking a look at for the following week. If you would, please read in your book, How to Read the Bible for All It's Worth, pages 11 to 35. Pages 11 to 35. Now, what this entails are the prefaces and chapter 1, which is entitled Introduction, the Need to Interpret. What we're going to be doing is just reviewing. I look around the screen and I think most people participated in the last Bible study series that we had. And so this will be a review for you, but we may have some that did not participate. And so if you read pages 11 to 35, then we're going to talk about that for next time. And I'll make sure to hit the high points as far as a review of the book, a total review of the book, so we can catch up to speed anyone who has not read the book. So our homework from this session is our pages 11 to 35. All right, wrapping it up, let me make just a few comments before we pray and dismiss. Some of you have received a survey for the last Bible study series. And for those who have received it and filled out that survey, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. If you received a survey and for whatever reason have not taken a few minutes to fill out that survey, please go ahead and do that. Go ahead and complete it. It's totally anonymous. I have no idea who made the comments or how you characterize things, so you can be completely honest. But that's a very important piece of the puzzle for me, so that I can make our future Bible studies better. My goal is to make every Bible study just a little better than the last one, which means I got to take a look at how I did. I got to look at the materials. I got to look at how it's structured, and I got to get a lot of feedback from you on what worked and what didn't work as far as learning is concerned. So if you got the survey, please go ahead and take a couple minutes and fill it out. I would appreciate that. Any questions or comments before I say goodbye to those watching the recording? Any questions or comments at all? Going once, going twice. I know this was a lot of information. I know I didn't probably cover everything. I know I probably forgot something. If I forgot something, just let me know. Email, text, call, whatever works for you, and I'll answer your questions. Let me say goodbye to our recording audience, our recording students. Thank you so much for joining us. If you want to be a part of our live students, call the office. Mount Calvary Baptist Church will get you the information on how to participate. And I hope to see you later on. Thank you so much.